All right, I'm going to tier different horror franchises. Whoever made this tier maker list, I don't think like they put in some stuff that only has one movie, which is a bit weird. So I'll probably just not count that. But I am tiering the franchises, not individual movies per se. So you'll probably hear that in my arguing. I am recording this while I'm streaming, so you might hear me talk to chat a little bit as we go. But let's get into it. So, Exorcist. Did I just do this in order that they're in? I guess I do. I mean, there's too many to jump around, really. Exorcist, obviously, classic first movie. Second movie is trash. The third movie is kind of good. The prequels that came out in the 2000s are trash. So as a franchise, it's really just a movie and one good sequel. So I think for that reason, it's probably getting the C tier. As a franchise, this is very subjective. And what are my parameters for this? I don't know. We're going to find out how I decide this as we go. The Thing, I don't think I count The Thing as a franchise. There's the original 50s movie, and there's. Oh, I guess there was that 2011 kind of remake, kind of prequel as well as the John Carpenter one. I mean, as a franchise, then it's like a. Nah, I'll go E. I'll go E for that. I barely count it as a franchise. Obviously, the John Carpenter's The Thing is great. It's fantastic. Excellent movie. But as a franchise, not really. Silent Night, Deadly Night. I think the original is a hoot. I think the second one is got some hilarious stuff in it as well. And the third one's kind of wild and surprising, although not necessarily that fun to watch. I've not went beyond that, but I think I can give an opinion on this one. I think this is more of a franchise than The Thing is, but I don't think it's as good as a franchise as. Not quite, not quite. I was thinking of putting the same tier as Exorcist because I think it has like more consistency in a way. But yeah, Resident Evil movie franchise that can fuck off and die into the F tier. I hate it. The Fly. I guess if you're, well, how much are you counting at this though? Because you've got the original like 50s movie and its two sequels, and then you've got the David Cronenberg movie and its kind of mediocre sequel. So I think this is a D tier as a franchise. Couple of good movies in there, but kind of weird when you consider it as a series. Candyman, good first movie. Kinda sucky second movie, sucky third movie. And the reboot was a bit more divisive. Some people really liked it. I thought it kind of went off the rails and just wasn't that good in the end, despite having some good filmmaking moments. So as a franchise, honestly, I gotta go in the E tier for that. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not a thing. What's this? I can't read this. Let me lean in like an old man. Camp Blood. That says Camp Blood. I might have seen one of those. I think I've heard of it, but I can't really judge it, so I'm going to put that in the don't know / don't remember. Yeah, so that's where we're going with that. The Howling. Oh boy, I have reviewed all of these on Screams After Midnight, and I don't even think the first one's that good. I think the second one's actually more entertaining, as it's kind of a bad movie with Red Brown and Christopher Lee. Third one's whatever. Then it starts to get really bad and really boring and really dull. I think then as eventually there's like a Twilight sort of knockoff like reboot sequel. I'm tempted to go F, but I do. The first one's still watchable, and the second one's kind of fun as a bad movie. So I think for that, I have to go with the E tier. But it is pretty dire most of the time. So that's where I'm going with Howling. Kind of rough. Human Centipede. I've not seen the third one before I go any further, but I have seen 1 and 2. And it's not that good. First of all, the second one's just kind of going for shock value. The first one is just kind of slightly dull. So I think I'm going to go with the E tier for that one as well. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, I've actually never seen any of, so that'll go in there. Boogeyman? I'll just put that in there as well. Now here we go. Heavy hitter, finally. Friday the 13th. Love this franchise. I do. First movie's only okay. The fifth one's a bit rocky. And I hate 9, but there's a lot of entries to this. I really like 2. I quite enjoy 3. 4 might be my favourite. 6 is a good bit of fun. I actually think 7's a good bit of fun as well with the telekinetic girl. And then I actually kind of really love Jason Takes Manhattan. And then Jason X, which is Jason in space, is just a hoot. So, Freddy vs. Jason's decent fun as well. Honestly, as a franchise, again, I'm not necessarily saying that any individual movie in this franchise is, say, better than, John Carpenter's The Thing, which is down the E tier. I'm saying as a franchise that I like to watch as like sort of binge where I'm enjoying going through the franchise. Friday the 13th kind of it's an A tier. It's an A tier horror franchise. I'm putting it out there. I'm sticking to that. Lake Placid. I am going to just put that in don't know. I have seen the first one many times, but I have never seen any of the sequels, so I feel like I can't really judge. Open Water. I didn't realize there was more than one of those, but I've not seen it anyway. Scanners I have seen, and I have seen 2 and 3. It's been a long time though. I remember it just being kind of mediocre. It's probably like an E tier as a franchise. Good first movie, direct-to-video sequels. I don't remember it being much better. But maybe for safety's sake, I'll just put it in the don't remember. But that's where I am. Evil Dead. Okay, Evil Dead is actually kind of insane because Evil Dead 1's gotten better for me with age to the point where I like it more than 2 and 3. And I didn't say that when I was younger. 2 is obviously great fun. 3 is a good time. It's not really a horror movie anymore at 3, but Army of Darkness is a really good time. It has the distinction here of it having a great reboot. The 2013 remake, if you want to even call it a remake, which is debatable if it is, other than the title, is my favorite of the franchise. I love it. I love the gore. I love how over the top it gets. I love the entire like final 15 minutes is like excellent. Jane Levi's great in the lead role. I like all of it. It's great. And what's funny is that we're on the eve of Evil Dead Rise, the 5th movie in the franchise, and the reviews and the reception are very positive. Like, they're extremely positive. Evil Dead might be in a position where it's had a trilogy and then that are all kind of different from each other in and of itself, but then it's had a reboot and then a sort of second reboot with Evil Dead Rise, and they've all been good to amazing. It might be in that position. So as a franchise, like, I've got to rate this high. I've got to put this up somewhere special here. I don't know if I love Evil Dead as like a thing as much as I love like Jason Voorhees, admittedly. Like, when I think of franchise, I think of Friday the 13th first. But if we're talking quality, I mean, I can't deny it. It's good stuff. I think I got to put it in the S tier. There's no weak entry. There's no weak bone. And even the new one coming out, which felt kind of tacked on when it was announced, actually it sounds like it's going to be a great time. Like, things are just looking good for Evil Dead all around. Even the TV show, which I'm not even including TV shows in this, but it had a good TV show that lasted 3 seasons, which was a nice send-off to Ash. You know? Yeah. Great. Terratoons, don't know that. Scary movie. You can go in the F tier. Not really a fan. It's not really a horror movie either, but it can go in there. I've seen enough of them. I've seen like 1, 2, 3, and like 5. And Elsa in the chat is upset at me because I've turned her into an Evil Dead fan. I do it gladly. Wishmaster. Oh, we did all of these on Streams After Midnight for Patreon bonus episodes, actually. And it's a fun premise. I had fun watching these, even though they're not great movies. But there's like fun, bad qualities to them. There's some over-the-top acting at times. They vary a bit in quality. They never rise above like a just a fun kind of cheesy bad time, admittedly, but they're actually kind of a decent set of movies to watch, I would say. So I think I'm kind of conflicted on where to put this. I think I might actually put this in the C tier. As far as the set of movies goes, like none of them are great, but if you're sitting down to watch the four of them back to back, I think you'll enjoy how absurd it gets in places and where it goes. Whereas this isn't like some of these other ones that are down here where there's like one great movie and then like nothing but trash after or something like that. This starts off kind of trashy, but it's kind of fun, cheesy trash. Um, I think it's one of these things where I was probably quite critical when we reviewed them, but in hindsight, thinking back to them, I'm like, you know what, that was a very easy to watch set of four movies. I think I can sit in the C tier. Lost Boys, I've only seen the original, and I think it's overrated, but I've never seen the sequel or whatever, so I'll just put it in don't know. Ginger Snaps. I love Ginger Snaps, the first movie, and I've seen the first sequel. I've not seen the third movie, but I don't remember the second one being good. I remember it being straight up bad. So I think this kind of goes into the same category as like The Thing does, where it's like one good movie, or Candyman even. I think it goes kind of in here in the E tier. As a franchise, I don't think it's got much, but as the original movie is absolutely fantastic. Feast, I have not seen. I Spit in Your Grave, I have seen I Spit in Your Grave. I have never seen any sequels. I think I might have seen the remake, but I didn't see the sequels to the remake. So I'm going to put this in don't know. I don't feel like I've seen enough to give a solid opinion. Phantasm. Now, Phantasm's an interesting one. Because Phantasm is an excellent movie, and I think Phantasm 2 is an excellent sequel because it does the aliens thing where it makes it a bit more action packed. I think when I was younger, I preferred Phantasm 2, although now that I'm older, I prefer Phantasm 1. But I think they're both great and worth watching. And Phantasm 3, I think, is not as good as 2, but it's still a good fun time. So I think, you know, it used to be a four movie franchise for a long time. There was a big gap between 4 and 5. 5 came out in 2016 when all the actors came back and were ancient, and Angus Scrimm even died before they finished filming it. And 5 is a sad state of affairs. 4 is kind of a weird one because it's like got a lot of like deleted stuff that they shot for the first movie and as flashbacks. It does kind of feel like they're struggling to like deal with the budget in 4. So for me, it's like a good, fun set of movies that I think you should watch the first 3. Or I mean, I'd say watch all of it, but like I think the first 3 are the ones you could go back to and sort of enjoy as like a trilogy. They always kind of end on a cliffhanger or whatever to like sort of tease the next one, but I would, you know, but the fact that there's 3 good to great movies there, I think that makes it a great series at the very least. So I would probably, I think this is at least a B tier. I'm going to put in the B tier for now, and we'll maybe sort of shuffle things a little bit as I sort of solidify where I'm going with these. Nightmare on Elm Street. This is another big one. Original, classic, excellent stuff. 2, I think, is an interesting watch. It's got some weird decisions. Doesn't feel like it was written by people who knew what the rules were for the franchise. 3 is my favorite of the bunch, and I think 4 is a really good time. There's a couple of bad sequel things, but it is a good time all in. That's when it starts to dip after that, though. 5 is kind of shit. 6 is really bad. And then 7's an interesting film. You know, Wes Craven's New Nightmare is the meta one that goes into the real world. I don't love it. I think it's got a great concept, but I don't think the movie actually does enough with it. But you've got 4 good entries, and then obviously you have to also kind of tie in Freddy vs. Jason after that, which is a decent fun time for what it is. So I would say that I don't love this as much as Friday the 13th, but it probably sits alongside it in the same tier. I think it's an A tier franchise. It's one of the first franchises you think of when you think horror movie franchise, and I think that 4 solid entries of varying quality that are enjoyable to go through as a set is enough to say, you know, great franchise, right? You know, so, you know, I think Friday the 13th's got more, and I would say that it's more enjoyable in that sense overall. But yeah, it's definitely up there. So, and then we get Alien. Jeez, my, Aliens special to me. Because Aliens is my favorite movie, and Alien is almost basically as good. It's basically a taste thing, which one you prefer more, and I think they're both tens. And then you've got sort of Alien 3, which is kind of like a problematic movie, not problematic in like a social sense, but problematic in that it had some issues when it was being made. It's kind of a compromised vision that isn't quite what the director wanted, and it does some weird things to ignore the last movie or retcon things, and but it's a really beautiful, well shot movie. And then Alien Resurrection is, I think it's actually pretty decent fun until the last like 15 minutes when it kind of just falls off a cliff. But I kind of like it up until that point. Um, Obviously it gets a little hairy though because now we have to include other things that came after. That's much like Phantasm. For a long time, this was 4 movies. You know, it was Alien to Alien Resurrection. That was the set of movies. But then eventually we had the AVPs, and we had Prometheus, and we had Alien Covenant. You know, got all these things to add on, and I'm not fond of those things, and they kind of drag it down. But you know, even if you ignore the AVP movies as kind of a separate thing, you do kind of have to still include Covenant and Prometheus in the lineage. But those first 2 movies are 2 of the best movies of all time, so I still think it ranks very high. I think it's still A tier. I do. I still think it's A tier. Yeah. It's just a feeling more than anything else. I can't quite give it the S tier. I think there's just too much bad also in it, but there's like the good that's there is like off the charts. So next, the logo that's there is Beware the Blob, but I assume this just in general means the Blob franchise because that's the second one. There's the original 50s movie, the 70s movie, which is that, and the 1988 remake. I don't know if that got a sequel, but the original is a fun 50s B movie time, and then I love the 88 one. It's kind of weird to think of it as a franchise per se, so I'm not sure where I feel on that front. That said, though, I do enjoy the original, and I love the remake, so I think you're probably in the C tier as a franchise. I would say I'll put it there. But yeah, it's a good time. The Omen, we actually watched all these on stream a couple of years ago because I was doing a top 10 kills in the Omen series, and I think rewatching them, I discovered that 1 holds up really well. 1's a great movie, and I think 2 has great kills, but the actual plot and the characters are kind of dull. And then 3, you know, there's like 1 good kill at the start, and then the rest is whatever. And then 4 is pretty forgettable. A couple of funny moments, but not much to speak of. And the remake is just dull dreck from the 2000s. It's not worth your time at all. So it's kind of weird as a franchise to recommend, I would say, because it's one where it really is just the original. I think if you want some fun kills, the second movie and a little bit of the third does have some to offer. So I think on that basis, I'll put it above some of these ones where it's only 1 movie. I think I'll put it in the sort of low end of the D tier, the Omen. So that's where that's going. Critters. I like Critters. I have fun with Critters. It's a fun B-movie time. I remember enjoying 1 and 2 a lot. 4's the one in space, which is quite goofy. It has been a little while since I've watched the sequels. It's something that we've been meaning to do on streams for a while, because we had the first one a while ago. But yeah, much like Wishmaster, I think it's a really solid little set of 4 goofy movies that, you know, if you're into them, you're going to have a fun time with all 4. So because of that, I do think that it does have to hit the C tier, at least. I think it's kind of... I would probably say I like it more than Wishmaster, at the very least. It probably feels blasphemous to put it above Exorcist, but I do think it's more consistent. You know, obviously, none of the Critters movies are as good as The Exorcist, but I do think that overall as a set, it works better as a franchise. So I'm going to go with that. The Hitcher, I've seen the original Hitcher. I have never seen the remake, and if there was anything else, I didn't know about it, so I'll put that in the don't know. Cloverfield. I have seen the first Cloverfield, I have seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, and I have seen the Cloverfield Paradox, which is all three of them as of now. It's a weird franchise because it's just this anthology thing that are loosely connected. 10 Cloverfield Lane's great. That is a great little movie. Cloverfield doesn't really hold up for me. It's just a bunch of typical found footage tropes. I was excited for it when it came out, but I don't think it works that well in hindsight. And Cloverfield Paradox just wasn't that good, fundamentally. So this to me falls into the E category where there's one good movie, and then you can check out the other ones if you want. I would, yeah, probably yeah, somewhere in the middle of this. Yeah, let's put it in there. Maybe after Candyman, but definitely. You know what? I'm going to put Human Centipede down to the F. I feel like that's clearly lower to me than everything else in that E tier. That felt out of place, so I'm going to put Human Centipede down a tier. All right, okay, we're making headway. Children of the Corn. I have seen the first three of these, so I feel like I can probably give a bit of an estimate. So I'll rank it, but there is like another 6 or 7 that I've not seen. But they're all really bad looking direct-to-video movies, so I think I've got a good sense of this one. Truthfully, the first one's only a decent movie from what I remember at best, and I don't remember liking either 2 or 3. My opinion of this has always been that it's probably just a really bad franchise almost the whole way through, so I'm tempted to go the F tier just based on what I know of it. Maybe I should be kind and put it in the don't know, but like even the first one's not like it was all right, but it's not a great movie or even that good a movie. So it feels like if it's all downhill from there, there's really not much hope for it. But I think I'll be fair and just put it in the don't know. So that's now a double roll, unsurprisingly. Creepshow I'll put in don't know because I've only seen the original. I've not seen 2 or 3. I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's a really dated 90s like post-Scream slasher movie, and the sequels, it's got a cameo by Jeffrey Combs in it in the sequel. Got that going for it. They're not that good though. They're actively quite bad. F feels a little harsh for it though, so I think I might put it at the low end of the E tier. I think they're very watchable, but that's about it. And yes, Sarah Michelle Gellar from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer is indeed in the first I Know We Did Last Summer. The Brotherhood, I don't know what that is. The ABCs of Death, I am aware of it, I've not seen it. Hostel, I have seen. Have I seen the sequels though? I actually don't think I have, so I'll just say no to that. Blade, I'm going to be spicy here. I don't think Blade is really that good, and I think Blade 2 isn't that good, and then Blade Trinity everyone agrees is shit. I think they're kind of dated. I haven't enjoyed trying to watch. I never really loved Blade 1 that much anyway. I always just kind of felt like the villain was shit, and I never really get into the plot. Blade 2, I thought I liked Blade 2 more, but when I tried to watch it like a while ago, and when I say a while, we're talking years at this point, but I found myself wanting to turn it off after like 20 minutes. I didn't feel it at all. I'm not going to say it's as bad as like Resident Evil, Human Centipede, and Scary Movie, but that is low E tier level to me. I don't think it's very good. Some people love some of the cheesy one-liners, but I think Wesley Snipes' performance is just a bit too cheesy. Snake Rattle Roll, I don't know. Night of the Demons, I have seen 3 of these. I don't know if there's any more. First one's a fun time, second one is not quite as good, and then the third one is like almost like a softcore. Well, it's not quite, but there's a lot of nudity. I remember being a lot of nudity in the third one. it's a reasonable enough watch, and I think it's one of these ones where because it starts off at just B movie level, that it's not too hard to not feel too disappointed by the dips that come after. So I actually think I'm tempted to give this a low D tier because it kind of starts off in kind of just a fun 80s kind of vibe, and I remember the sequel being alright as well. The third one does let it down a little bit, but more consistent, I would say, than these ones below. So, Amityville Horror. Obviously, there's tons of movies that have got the Amityville name, but technically only a small selection are actually part of the central franchise. And I've seen 1, 2, and 3. Did I see a fourth? I don't know. I don't know. No, I think I've seen 3 because I think it was like a trilogy box set I had that I watched back in the day. So I am going to say that this is. I don't remember. Like, even the first one I don't think was that good. So I think this is going low. Again, I feel too harsh putting it in the F tier. I don't think I had that much hatred for it. So I'm going to go with like low end of the E tier. It's not very good, just quite simply. Cabin Fever, I never saw 2, but I've seen 1 and I've seen the remake, and the remake is just this pointless, like, same plot as the first movie, but like only a decade later. So I gotta go E. Evil Bong, I've only seen 1, but you know what? I feel pretty confident that can go in the F tier. I absolutely despised it. The sequel looked more of the same, just shitty humor. Anaconda, I've only seen the first one, so I'll put that in don't know. Final Destination, okay, so we did these not too long ago on streams. Final Destination, I really like 2. I've discovered that 4 is kind of fun as well. It doesn't have the good characters of 2, but the deaths are fun again. And then 5, I think I have a good time with because the deaths are fun and it's a bit more cheesy and silly. 1 and 3, I think, take themselves a bit too seriously, so I don't enjoy them as much. But the concept is obviously great. And I think if you're watching it as a set, it is relatively solid and fun to go through the franchise. So for that reason, I think it goes comfortably somewhere in the middle. I think it does beat probably Critters. I don't think I like it enough to put it into the B tier, but I think I'll put it high up in the C tier. I think that's fair for that. So that's very good. Fright Night, I've only seen the original, so I'll say nope. Same with From Dusk Till Dawn, I've only seen the original. I've never seen Ghoulies, so I'll put that there. Halloween, okay. Halloween is a tough one because the original is my favorite horror movie. It's fantastic. It's a 10 out of 10. It is perfect. It is all these things. But a franchise is an interesting question because I enjoy 2. I enjoy 4. In fact, 4 is probably my favorite sequel. I really like 4. And I have a decent time with H2O, I would say. But I don't like 5. 3 is kind of a weird one because it's like this different, attempt at an anthology movie. 6 is dreadful. 8 is pretty bad. Although I think 8's kind of watchable in a bad movie way, where you kind of can make jokes about it when you're watching it. But that's not necessarily a singing praise. I despise the Rob Zombie remakes. Like I despise it like so much. And then the newer ones are like wild in quality. I thought 2018 was disappointing, and Halloween Kills was almost enjoyable for how bad it was because it was making me laugh constantly. And then Halloween Ends is really frustrating because I think like 2/3 of it are actually kind of a good movie, and then it chickens out right at the end and like ruins it, which is a real shame. So really, a lot of ups and downs is what I'm saying for Halloween. There's a lot of ups and downs. I have a lot of like strong opinions about what Halloween should be, about the shape, and what Michael Myers should be. So I can be turned off by some of the movies when they go against what I think they should be. So it is kind of conflicting because of that, but it does have my favorite horror movie, and there are like 4 or 5 sequels that I do genuinely enjoy to varying degrees. So I think because of that, it does get into the A tier, and I'll put it. Did I put it after? I've not really thought too much about the order of these. I think I intentionally put Nightmare after Friday. I feel like Alien and Halloween should go above Nightmare. Yeah, I think that's where I stand on that. So there we go. There we go. We've got some of the biggies out of the way. Tremors. I'm actually well educated in Tremors now. We did them all on the Ace, mostly as bonus episodes, but we did them all. Tremors is a fun time. Tremors 2 is actually still a pretty fun time. And then it starts to dip. And then it starts to dip. 3 and 4 are kind of like middling watchable movies, and then 5, 6, and 7 are rough. They're just like sort of painfully cheap direct-to-video movies. So it's kind of hard to judge it as a franchise, but there is at least one sequel worth watching and a couple that aren't completely painful. So I think for that reason, it probably does get into the D tier. So I'll throw that in there. But, you're kind of heavily weighted to a few specific entries rather than, it being even across the board. And oh boy, Hellraiser. Oh yeah, so we've done all these on Screams After Midnight as well. And there's like 11 Hellraiser movies at this point. I love the first one, it's great. 2 I think is flawed, but I do like elements of it. I think 3 is a fun, cheesy B movie time. After 3 though, holy shit, you start to nosedive, and you nosedive fast. 5 through 10 are just like, it's almost impressive how they keep finding ways to be worse. It was a depressing time in my life going through those movies. And then the 11th movie, the reboot that came out like last year, sadly I thought was really middling. It was better than a lot of those later sequels, but that's not saying much. It wasn't good. So I think having the first one and then at least a couple of movies, so there's kind of almost a trilogy that I would say is kind of worth watching. But I will. So I think because of that, I will put it in the D tier rather than going lower, because I do think you've got at least a little set of movies at the start that are worth watching. In fact, I would probably put it at the head of the D tier, but it nosedives hard after the third one. It really does. It gets into dire territory. Yeah. But I would say it's better than, say, the Howling franchise. There's more for you there. So I think it does belong in the D tier. Yeah. Okay, I feel good about that. Hells Have Eyes. I've seen the original and I've seen the remake, but I've not seen the sequel to either. So I'm going to put no on that, and I don't know. Child's Play. That's an interesting one. This is actually kind of a solid franchise in that the same person wrote every movie. They're not all great. Seed of Chucky's kind of Child's Play 3 is not amazing either. But 1's a solid movie. 2 is my favourite. Bride of Chucky's a fun time. It's very 90s, but it's a fun time. And then when they bring it back round in the 2010s and they brought it back for Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky, I was very impressed with those movies. I actually found them to be refreshing, and they kind of like put the franchise back on track, and somehow it keeps respecting its continuity. Like, everything matters. Like, everything that happened in all the movies is still referenced. I think Curse of Chucky everyone thought was like a reboot where it would kind of be a refresh of the franchise, and it wasn't. It kind of felt that way for a bit, but then you realize, no, all this history's still there, and that sort of carried into the TV show as well. Obviously, the one kind of weird side thing here is there was a remake that was separate from all that, but even that was okay. Like, I wouldn't really watch it as a Chucky movie. I'd sort of say it's like a separate thing that's all right to watch as a killer robot doll thing. But yeah, Child's Play is pretty good. And it's, the way that they brought it back round to being good again later on is quite impressive. So I think Child's Play does go into the B tier. And I think my love of Phantasm 1 is making it tough for me to put Child's Play over Phantasm, even though the franchise as a whole definitely has more consistency. And it's impressive how it's kind of respected its continuity still, even late into the franchise. And, you know, all being from one person who's writing the whole thing is partly why that is the case. But, you know, yeah, I'm going to put Child's Play there. I feel good about that. Insidious. I love Insidious. I think Insidious 2 is a bit messy, but I enjoy it. And then I think Insidious 3 is surprisingly quite good. That was the movie where Lee Wanell like proved that he could direct a movie. And it was surprisingly like a solid like standalone entry in the franchise. The only one that I don't like out of the franchise was the fourth one, The Last Key. That was the only one that felt kind of shitty and just kind of like an add-on. It didn't feel, and 3 was like separate from the others, but it still felt like it was worth its own story. Whereas 4 just felt like a sequel that existed to have a sequel and never kind of really felt like it was having fun. So, but 3 out of 4 is pretty good, and the 5th one's coming out this year, and it's the actor from the first movie, Patrick Wilson. Is that his name? Oh, I can't remember now. But he's directing the 5th one, so we'll see how that goes. I hope it's good. But like I say, I really like 3 out of 4 of these, and that's pretty good. So I think, honestly, if it didn't if it didn't have that fourth entry that's not good, I might even give this the B tier. I think as it is, I'm going to go in the upper end of the C tier. I think that's what I'm going with Insidious right now. And that's not one that I think most people in the horror like community agree with me on as much. I think Insidious 1's a much better movie than Conjuring. That's where I stand on that. Not everyone agrees with me with that. I still like Conjuring, but I think Insidious is better and more fun and more playful and inventive. All right, Jaws. I don't typically count this in with the horror, but obviously it does kind of have horror elements, and I see why it's here. So I will judge it appropriately. I watched all the sequels for the first time on stream. Like, was that last year we did that? And honestly, there's one fun kill in 2, but 2's kind of dull, and then 3 should be fun. It's set at like this like absurdly futuristic water park with like these tunnels going under the water, and it's so boring. And then 4 was also so boring. So to me, Jaws falls into the classic, you know, masterpiece of a movie, and then a bunch of shit sequels that you never need to watch. So as a franchise, it's going low. Having one great movie keeps it out the F tier. Obviously, I think that's been my rule so far. So I think it has to go into the E tier as a franchise. I should probably put Thing above Howling actually, because I feel like, yeah, because they have the one great movie. Same with Ginger Snaps. Ginger Snaps has a great movie. Yeah. So does Candyman. So does Cloverfield. I'm just reorganizing it. I've been kind of establishing my rules for this as we go. Yes. All right. Okay. Did you see the boy or the leprechaun on the list? Leprechaun is there. I don't think the boy is, because there's only been 2 of those. Another outrage. I think I explained my reasoning quite well. Or you just mean it's an outrage that the boy's not there. In which case, no, it's not an outrage. It makes perfect sense that it's not there. Jeepers Creepers, I've only seen the first one. Never had any interest in seeing the sequels, so I will put that in the don't know. Obviously, you can't now see in the screen the stuff coming up, but that's okay. I mean, as long as you're seeing the tiers for the most part and where things are going. Joyride's next, also known as Roadkill. That was the UK title, was Roadkill. I remember liking the first movie that I saw of this. I don't know if it holds up. I might, I watched this like probably nearly 20 years ago at this point. I remember kind of liking it though at the time. I've never seen the sequels though, so I'm going to have to say don't know for the franchise, but yeah. Ju-On. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to include yeah, I'm going to assume this is including all the Grudge stuff as well, and it's just all under one umbrella. So I think Ju-On The Grudge is a great movie. It's actually one of Tim's favorites. He loves that movie. and I think the American version of it is not bad. I remember liking when it came out. Now that I'm more familiar with the original, I don't really feel the need for it that much, but it's not bad. Um, the sequel though isn't very good. The sequels to the American one also aren't good. I've not seen some of the other ones like Ju-on White Ghost, Ju-on Black Ghost, or Ju-on the Curse. Ju-on the Curse is the one that I really feel like I should see. Um, but given that I've seen 5, Grudge slash Ju-on movies, not including the crossover even with Sadako versus Kayako, which is the Ring versus the Grudge. I feel like it's fallen into the same category as what we just said with Jaws, The Thing, Ginger Snaps, Candyman, Cloverfield, where there's one great movie and the rest are kind of like not good. So I am going to put that kind of about here-ish in the E tier for that reason. There could be some other sequels that I will end up liking or whatever, but where I feel now, I feel like 5 movies is enough to at least, 5 in a crossover is enough to judge it somewhat. So I'll put that there. Wrong Turn, I've only seen the first one. We're destined to do all those in Screams at some point, but I have not seen them yet. Reanimator. Now, Reanimator is a really fun, hysterical black comedy of a movie. The sequels kind of get progressively worse. Bride of Reanimator is okay. It has some moments, but it's nowhere near as consistent or as fun as the first one is. And then the third one, which was made quite a bit of time later, set in a prison, is definitely the weakest of the 3. But it's kind of it's on that sliding scale where it's not just instant trash when you get to the sequels. So it's a bit better as a franchise than I would say these ones that only have one good movie and then nothing but bad afterwards. I'd say it's more in the, kind of Hellraiser-y kind of level where there's a great movie and then a couple of okay movies, and then that's it. There's only 3. So, so upper D tier feels like where I'm looking with this as a franchise. I think I'm happy putting that just after Hellraiser. I would say Hellraiser is a better movie than Reanimator, which is why I think it gets a bit higher. But that's where I am right now. Okay. Creature from the Black Lagoon, I've only seen the original, so I can't say anything for the franchise. The Ring. I'm just looking ahead to see if they've separated The Ring and the original, Ringu series from Japan. I think this just includes all of it. So I think that's where we're going to go here. So, the original Ring from Japan is a great movie. That's one much like Ju-on the Grudge, where the sequels, Ring 2 and Ring 0, are just not good. They suck. I did not enjoy watching them either the first time or when I did them for review. I don't think the American remake's good either, and the sequel for that's really bad. So, as a franchise, again, I can't really say much or recommend this. Rings, which came out a few years ago, was really bad. So this is another one for me where there's a great movie and then nothing but bad after. Again, there's some weird offshoot spin-offs there's a Sadako 1 and 2 from Japan that I've not seen. There's definitely some extra ones that I could still see, but I've seen 6 or 7 of these, so I feel pretty confident in saying that it's kind of like these other E-tier franchises where there's a great movie and then nothing but bad after. So yeah, I'll put that next to Ju-on. I think that fits. So that E-tier is starting to fill out with a lot of those types of movies. Arguably, I could have made another tier at the bottom that was one great movie but nothing good after, and just make it a separate thing. But that seems to be where the E-tier's been turned into. I see Cube on a horror tier list. Yeah. I know you're still fighting that fight. Return of the Living Dead. So I think there's a 4th and 5th that I've not seen, but I have seen the main 3. So I feel confident enough giving my opinion on this. The first one's very beloved, and I like it. I like the first one well enough, but for whatever reason, I've always liked 2 more. For something about Return of the Living Dead Part 2, which is set in the suburbs, and I think it's got a more fun kind of traditional ensemble cast. I've always liked it. The third one's a bit weirder, but it does have Melinda Clark, who spends a lot of the movie with her top off as well, which is not a negative in my eyes. This to me is kind of, it's kind of in that Night of the Demons territory where it's kind of fun, but it's already B movie level, so the slight dips don't really matter too much. But probably starting off a bit lower or peaking a bit lower than that franchise does. So I think it's a D tier franchise. Even though I do like it well enough. I wonder if I should reorganize the D tier a little bit. Yeah, I feel like I should maybe reorganize this a little touch. Yeah. Or maybe not actually. Maybe not. No, I think I'm fine. I think I'm fine. I'm just weighing up like how I'm judging this. So like the E tiers become one great movie and then like nothing really after that, as far as I'm concerned. And then the D tier's more like there's a great movie or a decent movie with some more decent movies, or it's a great movie and then a couple of okay movies that are still kind of worth watching, but not great. And then once you get to C is when there's more consistency for the most part. At least a couple of great movies. So, okay, Cold Prey I've not seen, so I'll put that away. Basket Case I've seen the original but not the sequels, so I'll put that in the don't know. Ginger Dead Man, despite being Gary Busey related, I've not seen, so I'll put that there. Carrie is, I mean, that's going straight into the E tier because that's a great movie and then a sequel that I don't remember liking. And I've never seen the remake, but I'm pretty confident of putting it into the E tier. So, Carrie's very good though. I think Carrie sort of, the first movie alone kind of gets up to that level in the E tier, but no higher. Because I don't think there's any reason to watch the other ones that come after. Pumpkinhead, I've seen the original, but that's it. Ouija is a weird one because there's only two of them. I think the first movie's bad, just straight up shit. I think the second movie is better, but still kind of rough at the end. Like I think when it has to tie into the first movie because it's a prequel, it starts to falter. So while it's better, I still don't think it's worth much. So I think because of that, it's got at least a little bit of a decent movie in the second one. So I'll put it at the low end of the E tier. No, let's go above Cabin Fever. Certainly. Okay. 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 All right. I'm starting to see like two levels in the E tier. I could almost like redistribute these a little bit by bumping up a few things, from the D tier up to the C and the C up to the B and kind of filling that out a little bit more. But I'm happy enough. I'm happy enough. Right, this is a lot going on here. Okay, how long have we been doing this one? This is 50 minutes in this tier list. Jesus. Okay, what's next? Mega Shark, never seen them. That could go away. Bunny Man, never seen them. Killjoy, never seen that either. There's a lot of weird ones in this. Maniac Cop, I've seen the original. I may have seen the second one, but I'm not sure, so I'll put that in the don't know. Bump them up. You want me to bump things up? I feel like if I'm bumping things up, if I'm bumping things up, I think Insidious and Final Destination at least have to go up to the B tier from the C, and then some stuff from the D has to go up to the C. Yeah, you're right. I should fine tune at the end. You're absolutely right. I should just keep going and then fine tune and move things around if I feel, they don't quite fit. Prom Night, I've seen the original and I think I've seen the remake, but I've not seen, like, I think there's like 2 or 3 sequels to the original that I've not seen, so I'll put that in don't know. Night of the Living Dead. Okay, so there's a tough call to make here because am I counting just the original trilogy? Because technically he came back and did 3 more much later that are not good and drag it down. However, that original trilogy, which is Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead, is special. Night is a revolutionary horror film that is very important for a number of reasons. Not only did it create the modern zombie, it's also got a black lead character, which was very notable in 1968. It's got a lot of political commentary in it. Dawn of the Dead is one of my favorite horror movies. I love that movie. Day's not as good as they ought to, I don't think, but I still like it. It still got a lot of great stuff in it. So I think honestly this is one of these ones where, well, there's some shitty later sequels. I said early on that if you've got three, and you've got enough to make it a little trilogy, especially in this case where they feel so separate, where you've got the original movies and then the later ones that are, like you don't really think about them the same way when they're that separated. So I would say that this is at least A tier, and it's kind of it's borderline going for the S tier because that's how high quality those first two are, especially. And the third one's still pretty solid. Like, it's the sort of thing where it has to go side by side with like at least the Alien franchise, and arguably goes higher because it doesn't. Well, it does have the later bad ones because I just said it did, but they're kind of separated. Yeah, okay, mid A tier. Let's go mid A tier. All right. You think it would have been good at the start to just delete all the undebatable ones? What do you mean delete? You can't delete on this. I just don't think you can. I think there's a way to do it. I think you can go to edit and do that, but like, I don't think it quite works with the way we're going through it. All right, one missed call I've not seen that I can go into the nun. Paranormal Activity is a franchise that I'm sick of most found footage. Like the first couple, first three actually, because I think the third one's the best one, and the first one was an interesting experience when it came out. Two is kind of in the middle between the two of them, literally, obviously, but in terms of quality, it's just kind of it's just not bad. It's not as good as either of the one or three, but it is okay. And then four is the first one that I think's kind of bad. And then there's five and six. There was a seventh one that came out. So I've not seen the newest one. There was a new one that came out like a year or two ago, and I never saw that. But I've seen like all the ones up to the marked ones. No. There was one after that. The Ghost Dimension was the last one I saw. I feel like I can, comment on this. I think you're looking at D tier here because there is enough of like a franchise here. Even if you want to just watch the first three as a sort of a trilogy, I think it loses steam after that because they had no good ideas to keep it going. But I think there's enough there to say that at least. So I'm going to say D tier for Paranormal Activity. But I don't find it as rewatchable or as fun as a lot of the stuff that I've got in front of it or above it. So I'll say that. Slumber Party Massacre. There's 4 entries in this. There's the original 3 movies and then the 2021 made for sci-fi reboot. And I actually really like this franchise. It's really silly and B-movie and goofy, but I think 1's a good bit of fun, and then 2 is just insanity with the killer who kills with a guitar that's got a drill on the top of it. It's just weird and surreal. And the 3rd one's just a decent slasher movie. It's not great, it's not bad, it's not bad. And then the reboot's not bad as well. Like, it does some surprising things, it changes things up, and it's limited a little bit by being a TV movie. You can feel a little bit of holding back in a couple of places, but otherwise there is a good bit of fun to be had. So it's a very consistent B-movie franchise, I would say, that I think is good fun. So I think because of that, it goes above, those ones where there's only one good movie. And maybe even goes above the ones that have one good and a couple of decent, because it's more consistent. Now, this is verging more kind of in the somewhere between Wishmaster, Critters kind of area. So I think this is a C tier franchise. And I would say I like it more than Wishmaster. And I would say it's more consistent than Exorcist. Honestly, Exorcist I'm almost considering putting down a tier, just because like now that I've established what's in these tiers, I feel like that's more of the, it's kind of like 2 good movies rather than just the one. But I'm feeling that that's more of a D tier thing now. I probably, as a franchise, I probably like Hellraiser, Reanimator, more. So I'm going to put Exorcist down. That's just sticking out to me as I'm filling these up. So again, I'm not saying that Critters is better than The Exorcist. I'm saying that as a franchise, as a whole, it's more consistent, and if you like one, you'll probably like most of them. Poltergeist. I actually think the original Poltergeist is kind of overrated. I've never been in love with it. And two's not very good. I actually kind of enjoyed the third one, which it's not a great movie, but it's whatever. That said, though, given that I don't even love the first one, which is the one that most people do like, I'm not going to put this very high. For me, it's probably lower E tier, and that's probably blasphemy. I think for me, it probably goes around where The Howling is, maybe just after that. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going. My tier list is getting so big now that I have to scroll up or down so you can see everything. The S tier is just Evil Dead though, so you're not missing too much by that. Okay, Cube. This is very much one good movie and then just kind of, they're not terrible sequels, but they're nothing compared to the first one. So I think as a franchise, it's probably in the E tier, and it's probably better than Howling. I probably like Cube more than 10 Cloverfield Lane. Maybe more than Candyman. It's kind of in that range. Yeah, we'll probably put it there. Sequel's not that great. Subspecies. I've actually seen 3 Subspecies movies, but I don't remember them, so I'm going to put them in the don't know. I think these were sort of things that I watched as background noise at some point, so I seen them, but I don't have much to say on them. The Purge. I've seen 3 of these. No, maybe 4. Maybe I've seen 4 of these. I think the first Purge movie has a great concept, but I think it's not that good. I was disappointed when I saw it in theaters, and watching it again for streams a bit later, it didn't get any better for me. I thought it kind of didn't really do much with the franchise. And then the second one I thought was better, and it was going for more of like a, I guess, Escape from New York style setup where we're trapped, where we're on the outside as this Purge night's going on and we have to survive. And the third one was that too. So I think 2 and 3 are better than 1. But even those I don't think are great. And as a horror franchise, it's honestly, after the first one, it's more of an action franchise, just with a slightly creepy aesthetic. So Purge, I gotta go quite kind of low on Purge. I think I'm going to E tier on Purge. I think I'm going, like, it doesn't even have any camp stuff that I kind of like have fun with. Like, there's at least some nostalgia from I Know What You Did Last Summer. So I think I'm going like here with Purge in the E tier. Yeah, put it there. Yeah, Psycho. Psycho's obviously a classic film, another masterpiece, genre-defining movie. Psycho 2, I actually think is a really good sequel. I think Psycho 2 is very much worth watching. It's not as good as the first one, obviously, but it does some very interesting things. It might exist because there was a slasher boom in the early 80s, but it does some unique stuff. You're kind of following Norman as he tries to go into society again, and you're kind of hoping that he doesn't snap and kill anyone, and that the murders that are happening aren't him, and they might be, they might not be. That's kind of the mystery of the movie. Honestly, really good. 3 is a bit weirder, but it still has its moments. But it's definitely like a bit more experimental and not as good, but not a bad time necessarily. 4 is pretty rough though. 4 is not good. 4 feels, I think it was actually made for TV, the 4th one, and the remake sucks. But going under some of this logic that I've had, where there's a great movie, and in this case, a really good sequel, and then an okay sequel, I think that puts it, relatively well off. At least we're in the D tier, if not bumping up a little bit. Because with Hellraiser and Reanimated, like, it kind of goes down to just okay, whereas Psycho has a good sequel before it goes to an okay sequel. So I think C tier is where we're going with Psycho. And the question becomes, like, do I put it above the more consistent kind of B-movie level franchises because it has a much bigger peak, obviously? Um, I don't know. That's a tough question. I think my gut says probably. Yeah, that I'm going to put it above Critters. Maybe. Oh yeah, even above Final Destination. Yeah, it's kind of a unique one. I feel like the layout of the good to bad movie ratio in this is a bit weirder compared to. I feel there's been a lot of other examples that are very similar to each other, where there's one bad movie or one good movie and then just shit, or one bad movie and a couple of okay movies and then shit. This is a bit unique in that there's one great movie, then one good movie, and then okay, then shit. Bit more unique. Puppet Master. I'll probably say don't know on this. I've seen the first three, but there's like 10 of them. And honestly, the quality levels are kind of interesting, even in the first three, where I think they get better as they go one, two, and three. So we'll see. But I'll put in don't know. Wreck, I've seen all four of. This is the found footage, at least to begin with, zombie franchise from Spain. I think one's one of my favorite found footage movies. It's really good. I think two is a really solid sequel. Three, we actually did this on streams, but it's not out yet. It's one of the episodes we've recorded for this year for Tim being away on paternity leave, and I wasn't that into it watching it again. And four, I don't remember being very good. So this is one of these ones where there's two good movies, which is better than one good movie. So I think because of that, it does go above stuff like The Omen and The Fly, probably Silent Night. We're around Exorcist level as a franchise. So I don't think the third Wreck movie or the fourth are as bad as the bad Exorcist movies. So I think I'll put it above that at the very least. And then Reanimator. No, it's two good movies, so it should go above Reanimator. It should go above. Yeah, I'll go above Hellraiser. Yeah, I think that's fair. But not quite C tier, I don't think. Maybe. No, it's not as consistent enough. Okay, there we go. Saw. Saw's not very good. Let me just get it out of the way. I think Saw is just kind of unpleasant as a movie. I think it thinks it's really smart, but it's not really smart. And I think what I want from Saw, like it keeps teasing me with like fun, like problem solving and traps, but then the solutions to everything are just stuff that you can never like come up with or think of, and then it's just torture porn. I think two is my favorite because it gets closest to what I want it to be, but like it's a franchise that constantly gets more convoluted. It looks nasty. It looks like a really sort of bad music video from the mid 2000s, and just generally is kind of unpleasant. And I've seen like what 9 movies in this franchise. They're making a 10th one that's coming out later this year, and I think it two is kind of all right, and that's about it. My opinion on the Saw franchise is pretty low, so I won't quite put it in F tier just because there's a bit more merit than that, but not much. It is the very bottom of the E tier. That's where we're going with Saw. Scream. Scream, great movie. Two's an okay sequel. Three, I hate. Four kind of forgets to be a horror movie, but it's got some ideas and it's got some entertaining cast members and stuff. Five is kind of full on nostalgia reboot stuff. And then six, I think, is better than five. It has better set pieces. Some of the convoluted nature of the like who the killer is and what their motivations are is still kind of nonsense. But the set pieces are fun. So I enjoyed six more than five, and probably definitely more than three. It may even be my second favorite of the franchise, honestly. Um, so kind of up and down with Scream. I don't think any of them compare to the first movie, but I think there's enough to enjoy in the sequels, kind of like a lot of slasher franchises have, where there's at least some fun kills here or there. There's some fun cast members and things like that. So I think Scream does go above the E tier. It does probably go above the D tier, but it doesn't get to the B. It's in the C. There's probably more to it than some of these B movie franchises. Um, I'll be spicy maybe and put it maybe below or above Final Destination. Higher peak. I'll put it. I feel like it was bigger at the. I think it was. It's meant more to me at times than Final Destination, so I'm going to put it above. I'll put it above Final Destination. Okay. All right, we're getting there. God damn, this is taking ages. This is such a long tier list. We're getting through these though, and there's a bunch of these that I can't do. Sharknado, I've only seen the first one, so that just goes into the don't know. Silence of the Lambs, so we're looking at Hannibal Lecter as a franchise. I've seen most of them. I've seen Manhunter, which is technically the first one, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal. I've seen those three. I've not seen Hannibal Rising or Red Dragon, which are meant to be bad. This is a weird one. It's a weird one to think about because Manhunter's really good. Silence of the Lambs is obviously great. I don't like Hannibal though. So as a franchise, it's kind of falling into just the one great movie territory, but there's kind of two because I love Manhunter. But Manhunter arguably isn't really a part of the rest of the franchise. So I don't know. I don't know where to put it. I also think of it as more of a thriller franchise than a horror franchise, so I don't even feel like it fits in with these, but I will. I'm going to put it. Don't know. I just can't compare it to these. It's weird. Sleepaway Camp. First movie is kind of notorious and has some things to enjoy. I really like the second one. Is a really fun campy B movie, and then the third one sadly is kind of dull and like just feels like they're wandering the woods and like it has no structure like the second one does, which is weird because it feels like a direct follow up to the second one, which is the best one. But still, one movie that's worth watching for history's sake, and then a sequel that I think is really fun and the best of the three. I never saw like the weird later ones that they've done. I'm sure I will at some point, but not as of yet. So I think this is like say it's lesser than something like Slumber Party Massacre, so it's not getting into the C tier. It probably does make the D tier. It's probably in a very similar kind of place to Silent Night, Deadly Night, but with a higher quality level. So probably above that. So the D tier is now on 2 rows. Okay. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. First one's a classic, obviously. I think 2 is very watchable. Weird, but watchable. 3 is a bit rough. Next Generation's very rough, although the ending's hilarious and what it tries to do. I really don't like the remake and the prequel to the remake, and then the prequel to the franchise. But I really have a lot of fun with 2013. Texas Chainsaw 3D, that is. And the new one that came out was not a good movie, but as a slasher sequel, I enjoyed it because it had fun kills, and I didn't really want anything else from it. I don't know, I had fun with that movie. So I would say that there's 4 that I enjoy on some level. And then there's like 5 that I don't. But 4 is enough to say that it is a franchise that's worth watching at least a set of them from. So my gut instinct with this is that we're maybe getting into like, yeah, there's more in it that I like than say the D tier. So I think it's going into the C tier. But it's very up and down. I'll put it above Wishmaster. I'll put it above Slumber Party Massacre. It's maybe kind of around here. Maybe just under Critters. Like again, it's not a comment on like one movie versus one other movie. It's as a whole. I think that's where I'm putting it in the C tier. Blair Witch Project. First movie is a movie that I used to not like, but then I watched it again as an adult and loved it. Sequel is not good. The newer sequel wasn't very good either. So this is very much in the one good movie, rest kind of sucks level. So on that front, it can go into the E tier. Predator is not necessarily something I think of as a horror franchise necessarily, but there's definitely elements to it that are. And the first movie is kind of like taking a lot from slasher movies in a weird way. So, Predator is obviously excellent. I love Predator 2. I think it's a good bit of fun. So I'm down for Predator 2. Um, Predators, I think, is a bit lukewarm. The Predator's quite bad, but then Prey was really good. You know, that was like probably so. I think there's three great movies in there at of varying degrees, which is Predator, Predator 2, which not everyone agrees with me on that, but uh, I don't care. And then Prey is really good. So you know, we're in that level where we've got three. We've got like a trilogy that's recommendable, and then a couple other ones that are varying levels of mediocre to bad. So I would probably put Predator. Like I'm almost, yeah. You know what? I'm feeling it. I think that Predator goes into the B tier. I don't think it's quite in the same level as your Alien and Halloween and Friday the 13th, but it's, you know, if they have a fourth good Predator movie at some point, if we get another one that's good, then it could start to, because the Predator like himself is iconic in design. You know, it has the skeleton is there to be like one of the best franchises. It just, you know, it's not quite had enough of great stuff to get it there yet, but it's on the cusp, on the cusp. So I'm going to be with that. Woman in Black, I've only seen the first Daniel Radcliffe movie and did not like it, so I'll put that in don't know. Troll, I've only seen Troll 2, so I'll say no. Urban Legend, I saw the first one and the second. I think there was a direct-to-video third one that I didn't see, but it wasn't very good. It's like, yeah, bottom of the E tier, give or take. Yeah, not quite bad enough to be an F, because you know that's where the truly shit things are going. Um, so we'll put that there. Underworld, I'll say no to, but I hated the first one when I saw it, so I'd probably rate that very low. Hatchet, Hatchet's an interesting one. There's like four of them now, and it's this, you know, like there's very much there's this throwback slasher movie that isn't quite as good as it wants to be. The sequels were a little bit better, but they're all kind of lukewarm, right? You know, I think me and Tim, when we reviewed them, we weren't passionate about any of them. They're trying to be something that we should love, but they just don't ever quite get there. But they're not necessarily bad watches either. But I can't justify going above the E. I just can't. I just don't like any of them enough to go any higher than that. So I think, you know, it goes above some of these earlier, like later ones where I don't, you know, I think I appreciate it more than some of these things, but that's kind of it. Like it's very lukewarm. Yeah, very weird. Viola in chat is saying the E tier looks kind of odd because there's no grades. You know, when you're grading something in school, there's no E. Yeah, no, I get that. I think for the sake of having enough tiers, it makes sense to me to have it. But in a weird way, you know, the stuff that's in there largely is the stuff where it's like one great movie, but there's no other great movies in it, so it's not enough to be a franchise. That said, though, that's like one half of the E tier. Then the second half is just really bad, but not quite bad enough to be in the F tier. But yeah, so it's kind of the non-applicable category. So in a weird way, that kind of makes sense. But not in the same way that it's just because I've not seen or don't remember them. It. Well, I've not seen the 90s miniseries, so it's the two new movies, which I thought the first one was okay, had bad horror stuff, but I liked the kids. Then the second one didn't have those, and then I didn't like the horror stuff again. So honestly, it is like kind of low E tier as well. So I'm going to put that there. Oh, Leprechaun. Oh, everyone's waiting with bated breath for where I put Leprechaun. Um, Leprechaun, I don't love Leprechaun as a franchise, obviously. I don't think the first movie's that good. I think two is a little better, and three's probably the best one. But I never really enjoy it that much. I would say, like, I think two and three are kind of watchable. I think one's kind of dull. Four is just a bit too silly, and then in the hood, just like we're into like garbage tier at that point, with just lots of lame jokes and whatever. And then the reboots attempts have been very rough. So yeah, I don't like any of it enough to even go above the E. I'm sorry. Like I tried to justify it by saying, maybe it should sneak into the D because it's kind of consistent in a way, but it's just consistently not that good. I'll put it above a few other things though. Like I'll put it above Saw, Urban Legend, Cabin Fever, Ouija. I'll put it above Blade. I probably like I know what we did last summer more than Leprechaun though, so I'll put it there in the E tier. There you go. This is getting unwieldy. VHS, I've only actually seen the original one, so that'll have to be a no for now. Conjuring, I am I including the entire Conjuring universe for this, or just like Conjuring 1, 2, 3? It's a good question. Conjuring is a solid ghost movie, or possession movie, whatever you want to call it, haunted house movie. I think Conjuring 2 is a little bit better, actually. I think Conjuring 2 is more fun. And then Conjuring 3 obviously is not that good. If you bring all the spin offs into it, then it's a lot more bad than good, because most of them suck. Annabelle really sucked. The Nun was pretty bad. La Llorona was just dull shit. The third Annabelle was okay. Annabelle Comes Home. That was okay. It wasn't great, but it was a bit better and did have at least some fun ideas, although it didn't really all kind of come together that well. So, yeah, it's if you're taking it as a whole, you've really only got Conjuring 1 and 2 as like actual recommendations. So I don't really love the Conjuring verse and get excited for new entries because of that. So I think because of that feeling, I have to kind of go relatively low. But there is two movies in it that are kind of good, so I think it does get into the D tier at the very least. Um, probably, probably in the middle of the D tier. Yeah, probably about there. So there you go. That's Conjuring. Zombieland. I've only seen the first one, and I do think it's overrated. So, but I'll put it in the no. We have anyone read what looks like Japanese? That could be Ring, but I included the Ring as the entire thing, so I'll just put that don't know because I can't read it. Silent Hill. I've only seen the first movie, I think, so I'll put that in don't know. Gremlins. Only two movies, but they're both good. I wouldn't say I rank it high as a horror franchise necessarily, but that said, they are both good movies, and it means there's no weak parts to the franchise because of that. So I think I have to go at least C tier with this. But there's only two, so I don't feel comfortable going into the B tier. So I will say that I'll just sort of judge it based on do I like it more or less than like the main entries and some of these other things. So I'd say that I probably have to put it between Scream and Final Destination. I think that's where I'm going to put that. Alright, what do we have next? House and Haunted Hill. I've seen the original, I've seen the remake, but I've not seen the sequel to either. If there's, I don't know if both of them have sequels, but at least one of them has a sequel because there's Return to House and Haunted Hill. I don't know if that's a sequel to the original or the 1999 one, but I'm going to say no because I don't know. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I have seen the original, I've seen the 70s one, and I've seen one from the late 2000s, early 2010s, which was just called Invasion, I think. I've not seen the 90s one, but the original classic's a fun B movie, and the 70s one's a good sort of darker 70s take on it. So I think I can rank this. I think I can, based on that logic, probably put it into the D tier. I don't know if I'd really consider it like a big series that there's like tons of entries in, but I think at the very least it goes above, into the same ballpark that I just put Conjuring in. And yeah, I'll put it just above Conjuring. I think that's a good place for it. Jack Frost. Well, I've seen both Jack Frost movies, and I really enjoy the first one as a good B movie time. The second one sucks though, and is just really tedious and has lame jokes, and it feels super cheap. So I guess it's getting into the E tier as one good movie and one not. But obviously, the one good movie is not as important as a lot of the other good movies that are there. So I am going to put it above Hatchet. All right, Jurassic Park. I'm just going to be honest. I can't, like, I know there's a couple of scary bits if you're a kid in the first one. I just don't consider it a horror franchise, so I'm going to put Don't Know. But it's obviously not because I've not seen it. I've seen Jurassic Park, the entire series, you know, multiple times. Well, I've not seen Dominion multiple times because that was the last one that came out, but you know what I mean. I'm well versed in Jurassic Park, but I just don't think it belongs here. Piranha, seen the original. I've seen Piranha 3D and Piranha 3 Double D. I wouldn't rank it that high as a franchise, certainly, but it is like at least there's multiple entries. Piranha 2, notably, is directed by James Cameron. Is the only one that I've not seen. I think so. I am going to put this into the D tier, but the low end of the D tier, I think. Because the first one's a decent B movie. 3D was okay. 3 Double D was a bit stupider. Stupider is not really a word, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. This is going so long. Oh, AVP's here separately, which is good actually, because we kind of didn't include AVP in our thinking for Alien and Predator. Thanksgiving, I've only seen the first, so I'll put it that, Don't Know. My Bloody Valentine is just the original and the remake, and I've seen both. I think both are kind of just mediocre. So I'm going to put that into the E tier, probably underneath the actual franchises, so probably above Ouija, but no higher than that. The Descent, I've only seen the original, so I'll say no on that. Sharktopus, not seen that at all. The Mummy, and this is like the 1999 franchise. I'm not going to do that. Much like Jurassic Park, I don't think it's horror. Classic Mummy is, but 1999, that's more of an Indiana Jones style movie. Happy Death Day, it's always awkward doing like just a twofer, but I actually really like Happy Death Day, and I enjoy the second one, but it's definitely really not a horror movie at that point anymore. And it's just kind of a silly comedy, effectively, with more of a sci-fi twist than anything else. But I really like the first one, so I think with that logic, I got to go into the E with all the other ones that are like one, good movie, and just go from there. Quarantine is the remake of Wreck. I've never seen it, so Sinister. I have seen both Sinister movies. I think the first one is bad and vastly overrated, and the second one is a train wreck. Honestly, I'm tempted to go F tier, but that feels a little harsh, so I'm just going to put it at the bottom of the E tier. The Strangers is a good movie. It's not an amazing movie, but I like it well enough. And then the sequel's a little lesser so. So I think that is also E tier bound, but lesser. Probably above. Because I actually like the first movie a bit, I'd probably put it above, say, Hatchet. Yeah. Put that there. Black Christmas. So Black Christmas is less of a franchise and just a movie that's been remade multiple times, because you've got Black Christmas 74, which I love, is a classic, and it is an early pioneer of horror. And then you've got the 2006 remake, which is just kind of, it's just not good, pretty much. And then you've got the 2019 movie, which is better, but it definitely does a lot of things different, and it's not really the same premise anymore. but I also thought it was maybe a little too on the nose as well with what it was doing. So I didn't necessarily love it either. There were moments in it though. So this has got to go to the E tier. This is like one great movie, and then just kind of mixed bag after that. That's not really worth recommending for me. So, but I do like Black Christmas. It's quite high up in my horror list, so it's going quite high up in the E tier. All right, Pet Cemetery. Only seen the first. No, that's not true. I've seen the remake, but I've not seen the sequel. So I'll just say no. Like we're near the end. We have to do this. Come on. Ghostbusters. I'm not counting that as horror, so I'll put that in the no. AVP. AVP is really bad, and then it's watchable bad, but it's bad. And AVP Requiem is one of the worst mainstream movies I have ever seen. This is one that's kind of like fighting for the F tier. Yeah, it's F tier. A Haunted House. I don't even know what that is. Raz. I don't know what that is either. 47 meters down. I've only seen the. Oh no, I did see the second one. I think we watched the second one on stream, but obviously it was very forgettable. So I'll put that in the E tier above the stuff that I hate a bit more. Yeah. Unfriended. I actually think Unfriended 1's surprisingly pretty great. And then 2, I think, actually does some cool stuff. I didn't like the ending of 2 too much, but it still had a lot of good stuff in it. So I think that actually gets up to at least mid E tier. Maybe it's not a bad entry yet, so maybe it should go in the D tier. Yeah, D tier. Is the Jack Frost franchise in this? Yeah, I did that a while ago. Jack Frost is in the E tier. Here it is there. Where I'm circling. There's Jack Frost. Good stuff. Alright. We got 3 rows left in a bit. Let's do this. Frankenstein. I have seen most of the old Frankenstein movies. But obviously the original is great. Bride is loved. Although I think I prefer the first one. And then the sequels are a bit spotty after that. I think because of that, it's kind of in that similar, like, 2 movies and then some mixed bag stuff. So this is probably D tier bound. Yeah. We put it after Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Oh, actually, but wait. Above Exorcist. And Body Snatchers should be above Exorcist as well. Yeah. Feel good about that. I feel good about that. Goosebumps, only saw the first one, and it's not really horror. I think it was horror for kids, but it's not really horror. The Dentist, I've not seen. Sounds great, though. The Shining. Oh, there's a sequel. I was going to say, why is there a Shining? But there is one sequel. I don't know. I don't really consider it a franchise. Shining's amazing. And I think Doctor Sleep, the sequel, is mixed bag, but there is some good stuff in it. Like, I think when it's been a sequel to The Shining, I don't like it that much, but when it's just doing its own weird thing, it's actually kind of good. So I think I got to go E tier for this one and just put it sort of near the top because the original is fantastic. But yeah, that's about it. 28 Days Later. I'm kind of middling on, to be honest. I don't remember liking the sequel. But the original, I do think's a bit overrated. I don't love the third act of the original. So for me, it is probably down in the E tier. Maybe above some trash, but I'll put it below Leprechaun. No, that's a bit harsh. I'll put it above a few things. Put it there. Remake. Oh, Shining got a TV movie remake. Yes, I recall that being a thing. I've never seen it though. Dracula. It doesn't have that big second movie like Frankenstein does. You know, it's Dracula and then it's the sequels, and it's it's Dracula's daughter. It's like, is there a son of Dracula? There's a son of Frankenstein for sure, but there's a lot of movies like that with that old Universal Dracula. So I think I got to go again. The logic of one good movie and then stuff that came after. Probably in the lower end of that scale though, because I like the first Dracula, but it is obviously a bit simpler. It's a bit dated. I'll put it in there in the E tier. House of Dark Shadows. I don't know what that is, so no. Birdemic. I've only seen the first one, so I'm going to say no. Bikini Bloodbath sounds great, but I've not seen it. House of 1000 Corpses, I've only seen Devil's Rejects, so I will say no to that. Wolf Creek, I've only seen the first one. Oh, look what it is. It turns out that buried underneath all of those movies and franchises, that there was indeed The Boy. There it is. The Boy. And guess where that's going to go? I'm not going to be a meme and put it in the F tier because it's not that bad. But it's like. It's like here. It's like low E tier. For sure. Creep. Creep, it's only 2 movies, but Creep 1 is really good. It's one of the better found footage movies. It's got a really great performance by Mark Duplass. And then the sequel isn't quite as good, but it does some interesting different things in it. So I think Creep actually goes above the E tier because it's got 2 good entries and no bad entries. So I think that at least gets it into that D tier. I'd put it above Conjuring. I'll put it there. Put it in middle D tier. Malevolence. Just no. It took me a minute to realize what that was. I was thinking about it. Grizzly, not seen. I can go there. The Babysitter's only 2 movies. I like the first one a lot. Second one is just okay. So honestly, that's probably E tier bound. Somewhere in here because I like Babysitter more than The Howling, so I'll put it there. Hollow Man, I've only seen the original, so I'll say no. See No Evil, I've never seen. Grave Encounters, I've only seen the original. Dead Snow, just the original. Salem's Lot, never seen at all. Witchboard, I have seen the first 2, but I don't really remember them, so I'll say no. Don't Breathe. Oh, there is 2 of those. There is 2 of those now. The second one's kind of fun in like a bad movie way, and the first one's a solid B movie. So it does at least get into the E tier at the very least, but it's not really at a point yet where I can. Again, I'll probably put it just after Babysitter, above The Howling, where I like the first movie. I think there's some fun stuff in the second one, although it's stupid the direction it takes. But I can't really put it high as a franchise. House, I'll just have to say no because I don't remember any of them. I have seen them a long time ago, but it's been too long. Messengers, I've not seen. Stepfather, I've only seen the original. Chud, I have seen 1 and 2. 1's kind of boring, 2 is a fun bad movie, so I can't really go above E. I'll put it above, like Chud 2 I like more than Blade, I like more than Leprechauns, I like more than We Did Last Summer. I probably like more than Hatchet and 20 Days Later, but not more than The Strangers, so I'll put it there. The Boy is a male fuzz icon. How dare you? How dare you say such a thing? Necromantic, I have not seen, happily. The Prophecy, I've not seen. Darkman, I'm not going to count as horror. Toxic Avenger, I've not really seen. Waxwork, I've not seen. Oh, I think we're almost done here. Contracted, not seen. Chrome Skull, I've never heard of. Extra, I have seen the original, but only the original, so I'll have to say no. Invisible Man, I have done all these on Ace, funnily enough. So I do have a lot of opinions on these. The first one is amazing. It's my favorite Universal classic. I really enjoyed The Invisible Woman. It was more of a lighthearted comedy than it was anything else, but I had fun with that one. And then the others are kind of, I think 2 has some good stuff towards the end, but 4 and 5, which is Invisible Agent and whatever the other one was, were kind of just eh. So as a franchise, it's probably because I did enjoy the third one, I think it is a little better than just the one great movie and then nothing but crap. It's kind of more in that the Fly and the Omen territory where it's like one good movie and then like a decent fun movie and then it starts to dip after that. So I think that'll go there after Conjuring. There you go. What about the Elizabeth Moss one? I'm kind of not counting that because it's a separate thing. If I'm counting that, then yeah, there's a second great movie as well because that movie was really good. Uh, but the logo is the old classics, and with Dracula and Frankenstein, I only included those as well. Because with Dracula, I'd be like, oh, I can include the Hammer Draculas and modern Dracula movies. Same with Frankenstein, and I don't that would make it really hard to judge because at that point you're just doing. Well, that's like saying where do you rank Batman among movie franchises, but you're including all of the Batman movies. So you're including like the '90s ones, the Nolan ones, the awful Zack Snyder stuff. So it's hard to like include them all. Uh, but yeah, Tales from the Hood. I've seen the first one, and that's it. And the last thing here is A Quiet Place, which I have seen both of. And I like both well enough. I'm not in love with either one, but they both have a good concept. So I think because of that, I would probably put it in the E still, because I think it's sort of teetering between. It's not got quite that one great movie to me. They're just sort of both solid. So I am going to put that above Babysitter. And huzzah, we're done. Whatever crazy bastard made up this tier maker list with all of these entries, they put a lot of work in because that's a lot of logos and a lot of images. But we're done. In 98 minutes, I'm finally done sorting these. And again, this is franchises. And I wasn't necessarily deciding at the start I'd only have one in the S tier. But it is kind of fitting in a way that only one makes it into the S tier. And again, it's not that I like any Evil Dead movie individually more than some other stuff. Like, I like Alien and Aliens more than any Evil Dead movie. But as a franchise, Evil Dead is like killing it. Like, they're all good. They're all great. There's no weak link. So there you go. Am I going to adjust it any? It's a lot to look at, to be honest. I'm kind of willing to just leave it, but I mean, the E tier did kind of like end up being like two, like there's like an E part A and an E part B, if that makes sense. Well, no, because it doesn't. It's not like condemning the horror genre to only have one S tier. It's more like saying, okay, this is the peak of the horror genre, so it makes sense that there's, you know, like it's not like we're comparing this to other. Uh, so I mean, maybe it would be funny to do other genres. Maybe like a sci-fi like franchise tier list would be good, and some of the same ones would pop up because you'd have Alien and Predator again. Uh, well, the funny thing is though, is the E's the one that I would maybe want. But yeah, you're right. Like A through D or S through D is where all the important stuff is. I am mostly quite happy with it though. I'm mostly quite happy with it. I think I'm trying to weigh up if like having that one really important movie versus the consistency. Like, so I'm thinking like Reanimator, Hellraiser, Frankenstein, and Wreck. Like they feel like they should be above like Wishmaster and Beware the Blob, even though those are maybe a bit more consistent. I think I'm going to adjust these a wee bit. I think what I'll do is I'll put the Blob down to like here. Wishmaster can go just after it, and I'll bump up. Maybe not Wreck, but maybe Hellraiser, Reanimator, and Frankenstein into C tier. Does it say how many there is? Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. Um, but I'll leave it there. I mean, that's all. You can see all the rows there. The only one you can't see is the don't know or didn't haven't watched or have only seen the first one. That's the only one that's cut off of the screen right now. That's S through F is all the ones I've got opinions on that I've ranked. So you can see it there, like what the upper tier is, what the great stuff is. Um, yeah, I feel mostly pretty good about this. And they're kind of roughly in order inside each tier, but not necessarily ironclad. Like I didn't spend too much time worrying about that. But yeah, I think that about does it. Yeah. So there you go. That is my horror franchise tier list. And my voice is dead. Thank you for watching. Support us on patreon.com/mailfuzztv. Thank you.